Hi, I'm Tanya, and today I want to talk to you about the 4 reasons why it's so hard to change habits. Before I start, I just want to remind you, if you haven't liked or subscribed, please do. And also check out the links below for any free offers or mini offers, as well as my memberships and free clarity call. And part of the video today is actually my first free mini offer, which is my first habit guidebook. And today I'm going to be talking to you about one of the sections of it, which is why it's so hard to change habits. So let's get started and look at those 4 reasons, followed by 4 steps that you can take to get unstuck and moving. All right, so when we're looking at habit changing, there's different parts to it. And in the habit guidebook that I offer, I look at 3 parts. 1, looking at, that good old cue, reward, response cycle that we have that helps us get a new habit going. And when we feel that reward, we crave it, and so then we keep on going. So in order to feel that reward and the benefits, you have to do it long enough. So that's an easy formula if you don't have things getting in the way. And the other piece to habit changing is knowing if you're ready. There's something called motivational interviewing, and it's used a lot in counseling, and it assesses where you are in the stages of change. So do you actually see there's a problem? Are you contemplating what you can do? Are you taking some steps towards change? And so that's also part of the habit changing guidebook that I offer, and you can assess where you're at in those stages. Today, though, I want to talk about the big piece that really stops people, and that is your emotions, your mind, physical stuff that's happening in your nervous system and body, and your spirit, or at least being disconnected from it. And so let's start with that first one, which is the emotions. How many times have you tried to change a habit and then you get overwhelmed and then you stop? Or you start beating yourself up and you feel horrible and you think you can't do it, or you have, just a trigger or a flashback and boom, it's done. So let me give you an example of what that could look like. Maybe you decided to start, tidying up for 10 minutes every day. That's your new habit that you want to do. You're going to put a timer and you're going to do it. So it's day 1, you put that timer, and then you look at your bedroom and you start to kind of get these sensations of panic. Your heart starts racing a little bit. There's a tightness in your chest. And then you start realizing, oh, wait a second, this is reminding me of when I was a child. And you may not even realize it, but you might start to feel some shame. You might start to feel bad about yourself because as a child, you were shamed for not being able to clean your room properly. You were belittled, nobody helped you, and it was just expected that you knew how to do it. So then what happens is your body goes into this state of flashback. Beyond the sensations that you're having in your body, you actually think you're in the past. You start having emotions from your past and you start reliving it in the present moment, which then puts you in a state of maybe sympathetic, fight or flight, or dorsal, freeze or fawn. And very often I find that people get stuck in that freeze mode, they get overwhelmed, and then what happens? You end up feeling so overwhelmed that you just end up taking a nap. This is common, so don't feel bad if this is something that happens to you, because it is something that happens to many people, that they get triggered when they try to create change. It's something new. They get reminded of the past. They think they're in the past, and then their body and their nervous system is there, and then boom, they go into that state, and that's the only way that you know how to cope. It's just too much, and the body needs to rest. So what else happens with our emotions? Well, when those flashbacks happen, originally when we had that experience, we developed a coping mechanism in order to survive and in order to protect ourselves. So maybe you avoided cleaning your bedroom, and went out all the time so that you didn't have to be at home and didn't have to get yelled at. Okay? So whatever coping mechanism you developed, you continue to use that now because you don't want to feel those feelings of the past, which keeps the trauma and that energy trapped in the body, and that cycle just keeps on going. And so those old patterns take over because one, you're in that flashback state of being in the past. They take over because your brain is used to that chemical balance, that chemical combination, and it doesn't want change. Change requires more energy and effort and time. So we just go back to the old status quo of those old patterns and those old coping mechanisms. And so what ends up happening is people either go into this like high speed or shut down. And so their emotions take over instead of being able to be in the present moment, acknowledge what's happening, and shift towards what you're trying to create and what you're trying to do in the moment. And I'll talk more about how you can do that later on. So the next one is the body and the nervous system. So it does connect with what I just mentioned about the emotions and what we're feeling in our body. So when you're having that trigger, you get reminded of something from the past, and then your body and your nervous system are in the past. You actually are reliving it. And so what I find is that people will either get stuck in this high speed mode when they try to change, and they go too quick, too fast, all at once. And they're like, oh, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna do this, because they're used to being in flight mode. They're used to being in go, 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 go mode. So they make all these changes, and for a week they're doing it every single day. They're on it and they're changing, and you're doing the same thing and you're in it. And then you burn out because it's too much, too fast, and too soon. Or on the flip side, you're used to being stuck in dorsal, you're used to being stuck in freeze mode or fawn, you're used to doing everything for everybody else. And then, or you procrastinate, which is really just being stuck in dorsal, being in freeze mode, and you're unable to make that change, even though you really, really want to do it. And so it's not acting, you're not acting from a place of consciousness, you're acting from a place where your nervous system thinks you're in danger. Your nervous system thinks it's in the past, so then you're not able to act from the present moment in your ventral vagal and being able to really harness your inner power and do what you would like to do in the present moment. So that brings me to the next one, the mind. While this, craziness is happening with your nervous system and your emotions, and they're taking over and they're making you feel like you're in the past when you're not, the mind is also taking over and kind of monkey mind, going into this loop that doesn't allow you to focus and be present. And so what that can look like, and what I've seen often with clients, is making really long, complicated to-do lists or procedures of ways of organizing all the things that you have to do. There's a sense of needing to do it perfect, needing to know all the steps. That book, Getting Things Done, don't recommend it. It's a very complicated system of trying to figure out what to do, how, when, and there's so much time spent on organizing your to-do list that you don't actually end up having time to do it. So when people do this, they're being run by this perfectionism, run by being so detail-oriented that by the time the list is done, it's so daunting and overwhelming that it just doesn't get done because you don't feel like you can, and you're just totally checked out and it's over. It's not happening. And so other aspects of what happens with the mind is that we have these experiences in our lives, and then we develop beliefs. And those beliefs run our behaviors, like, oh, I can't be organized, or oh, I don't know how to be organized. It's just nothing that I can never do. And I'm not able to, I can never learn, because maybe your past experiences were negative, maybe you didn't have the support you needed, and you were told that you couldn't do it. So then you believe that, and then that drives your behavior. The other thing is that these negative thoughts are going to come up quite a bit if you're not in ventral vagal. And if you are stuck in sympathetic or dorsal, that means that the body, the nervous system, is in protection mode. So then we start to think about, oh, danger. What do I need to do to protect myself? And we start thinking negatively to try and figure out, well, where's the danger? What do I have to solve? What do I have to fix? Which takes us away from the present moment and doing what we would like to do. And so these negative thoughts take over and then bring on that good old perfectionism and overthinking, which ties into that example of that over detailed, like way over planned to-do list that often people will do. And it's making things way more complicated than they need to be. That's why I like to keep things super, super simple and just take one step at a time, even though you might have a lot to do and there's a number of things that are time sensitive because you haven't been able to do them. You need to be realistic with where you are and what you can realistically do bit by bit. Because you may just have to deal with the consequences of some of those things not getting done at the time that they needed to get done. And just slowly shifting the way you're doing stuff so that it doesn't happen again. And so let's look at that last one, because that's a big one. Your spirit. What does that have to do with changing habits? Well, let's look at spirit as your inner knowing, that inner drive, that life purpose, that soul purpose, that true essence of who you are. And when you are connected to that, you're connected to your values. And when you aren't connected to your values, well, that's a good example, because that's where you start doing things that are more harmful habits, like drinking, overeating, binge watching TV, shopping, things that take you away from being present and disconnect you, and they really disempower you, and they make you feel powerless and that you can't do anything, and they just kind of numb you. And so then you don't have any purpose or direction. You're just kind of disconnecting, avoiding, and it really just stops you from living the life that you want, and including daily practices that keep you connected to your true essence and to your power. So it creates this vicious cycle where we have this trigger. That trigger puts us in a state where our emotions take over. Our nervous system's running the show because it thinks it's in danger. So then the monkey mind comes in, and then in order to cope, we develop these coping mechanisms that take us away from our true self and our true essence and our spirit. So now what? Well, there's lots of different things that you can do, and I want to give one 4-step practice that you can start to integrate that will be helpful to help you slow down, connect, and not get into that reactionary mode where the nervous system, the mind, and the emotions are just taking over. And so it's 4 C's, which is easy to remember: connect, calm, clarity, and courage. Okay? And so the first step is just to connect. Connect with the present moment. You really need to stop and slow down. And a great way to do this is connect with one of your senses. So, what do you see? What do you hear? Can you touch something? What are you feeling, right? What do you smell? What are you sensing around you? If you can do that for 1 minute, it actually disconnects that part of that go, go, go mode or freeze mode, and it helps to slowly calm the nervous system. So it's intercepting that pattern of going into flight, fight, freeze, or fawn mode. So you just want to stop and pick one of those senses or rotate through them for a minute or so, and then focus on calming your nervous system. And there's different ways that you can do that. My favorite is hand over the heart, 1 or 2, even like putting arms like that, I find very helpful. And it might take 10 minutes. You don't know how long this will take. It's something that you need to practice. Another great one is shaking. And when you do that, if you breathe in and then out and stand up and just shake your whole body when you're doing this. Doing that for a few minutes really helps reset the vagal nerve. Another one is breathing. There's so many great breathing techniques out there. It's finding one that you like and that works best for you. And then lastly, there are different vagal pose exercises. There's lots of great ones online where if you do a certain position with your neck and your eyes, it helps reset the vagus nerve, which then allows you to act from your ventral vagal and from a place of consciousness and reconnection to your spirit. So the next piece then is, I do want to mention that it's really important to practice these when you're actually in a good place. Because if you're not in a good place, you don't want to have to figure out how to do it. You want to be practicing them enough on your own time in a daily rhythm where you get really good at it and you feel the benefits of it, even if you're in like a pretty good state. That way, when you need it, boom, you just do it. You don't have to think, and it works a lot quicker that way. Doing it regularly also helps strengthen your nervous system so that you don't go into that reactionary mode as quickly. And if you do, it's actually easier to catch it because that window of tolerance has gotten bigger, and then you can see the difference instead of always being in that state. So once you've calmed your nervous system down enough, your heart rate is slowed down, your thinking has slowed down, your breathing is calm, and you kind of feel like, okay, I can do this. Now it's time to get some clarity on what just happened, what brought me into that state. And so ask yourself, what threw me off? What is it that I need right now? And what steps do I need to take in order to move forward? And did I learn anything about myself in this situation? Is there something that I used to do in the past that's no longer working? Or did I realize something that happened in my past and whoa, I didn't realize I had that coping mechanism? And is there a past belief that's holding me back from changing this habit, right? And am I ready to address that now? So asking these questions, and at the same time or separately, connecting with your heart center. And so one way to do this, after you kind of maybe journaled or had a conversation with someone about these questions, like a therapist or a trauma coach, doing this practice of this meditation as well, where you ask yourself, what would my soul do in this situation? What would my spirit want me to do? And connecting with your heart chakra and really connecting with the energy of love, expanding that until you feel so much joy and love and just this elated feeling. When you can get to that place, then connect to your third eye. And that's where you can really start to connect to your inner knowing and your that ability to see what you need to know and what you need to do. And then when you have those answers, then you can have the courage to take action and create the change that you want in your life. Does this happen the first time? Maybe. Then the second time, maybe not. It's something that you have to practice. However, with these 4 C's, it's really about intercepting that reaction and stopping and going, okay, wait, I'm having a flashback. I'm in this state. Let me look around. Let me try to get present. Let me calm down my nervous system. Once I'm feeling calm enough, let me see what happened. Let me kind of assess the situation. And that can be done at a later time if it's not really the time or place to do it. And then do that deeper inner work of really connecting deep within you to go, okay, what really needs to change? What does my soul and spirit want me to do? So hope that was very helpful. And remember that habit changing isn't just about, having that new cue and then the reward and then craving the results because you want that reward again, or understanding where you are in the stages of change and kind of getting a sense if there's resistance and if you need to work on that resistance. It's also about dealing with your emotions, your mind, your body, and your spirit. And using this technique of connect, calm, clarity, and courage can be a great tool for you to help you change those habits that you want to change so that you can be more connected to your values and your life purpose. I'm Tanya. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I'll see you around.